Greetings. Welcome to the Mid-Missouri Kayak Weather and COVID-19 Report for April 2021. At 12:10, Tuesday afternoon, April 6th, the temperature is 78 degrees. We have a forecast high of 80. We've had 2 or 3 80-degree days in a row prior to this, and pretty sunny. Today, it's very sunny. There's a few scattered clouds. Every once in a while, one will move across the sun, but it's a beautiful day to be out. Tomorrow we're expecting rain, temperature back into the 60s, and then for the next week ranging from mid to high 60s into the mid 70s with rain forecast 3 out of the next 4 days. I am on the Moreau River. I launched at the Honey Creek Access, and that launches on the Moreau River, and within a couple hundred yards there's Honey Creek, and I actually paddled into that for maybe 150 yards. Quite often I can't paddle in there. I've gone further into there, but quite often I can't at all because the water's lower. Now, the water's low, but not... Actually, some of the shoals that I am scraping over as I paddle, I have not, so it's a couple of feet higher than low times. But it's just high enough that in the narrow sections or in the shallow sections, it's pretty stiff current, and it's pretty mild current in this thing. Slight breeze today, so there's that. Sometimes I'm paddling into it because it winds. You know, sometimes you're into the wind, sometimes you're not. And I went as far as the Highway 54 bridge, which is a couple of miles, 2 miles, and I went maybe 100 yards past it. There's an old bridge abutment, stone and concrete, from the old Highway 54. The highway is now a divided highway, but that's the old abutment. And normally I'm putting my hands down and pushing myself up across the bottom because it's gravelly right under that bridge, but this was high enough that I could just paddle through. However, between there and that old abutment, there was a tree line across the river that if the water had been 6 inches shallower, I would have probably not have gotten past it because it was just below the surface in the submerged sections of it. Yeah. Okay, so 2 weeks ago we had some pretty heavy rain, and judging from the ramp here, I can see that the mud goes well past halfway up. The bottom of the ramp was clear, so I could drive down there and launch, but halfway up or more, so that was 15 or 20 feet higher at that time. And as I was paddling here, I passed under several trees where there were dry grass and leaves clumped and hanging onto tree branches, almost like a shelf from the previous high water level. So yeah, that was pretty cool. I've seen a couple of turkey vultures, a couple of ducks, not a lot in the way of birds. Tufted titmouse, I've heard several of those. I think it'd be pretty raucous, and it's like they stopped as soon as I started making this. They stopped calling, but yeah, I've heard them, and I did hear a hawk. Turtles, I've seen half a dozen to a dozen. You know, sliding off of rocks, a couple on the mud bank, or sliding off of trees that are in the water. Now, a couple days ago, we saw almost that many when we went for a walk. We went to Runge Conservation Area, and one of the ponds had probably close to 8 turtles just sunning themselves. So yeah, that was pretty neat. That was cool. All right, COVID-19. Cole County is currently at 827 positive cases since the whole thing started. Now, that is not counting positive antigen tests. They're giving the amount. They started doing that a month or 2 ago, but they're not including it in the total. The past 20 or 30 was dragging, you know, it's like maybe 3 to 5 a day, maybe a couple more one day. Missouri, believe it or not, just a couple days ago was cited as being the state with the lowest percentage of positive cases. It was like 4%. Now, while other states are going up lately, there's been this little uptick. Missouri wasn't experiencing that until I saw in today's paper. St. Louis is concerned because their numbers went up for a couple of days. So who knows, maybe that'll happen here. We both have our shots. Mine is probably close to a month ago now, my second shot. Bonnie's is, actually it's more, 6 weeks maybe. Bonnie had her second shot Friday. Now she had some mild discomfort, I mean, so they're not mild. She had some symptoms on the day after and the day after that, intermittent, especially at night, where she had chills and aches. In fact, she said that at one point her joints felt like they were on fire there in the middle of the night. But she's, it's been 5 days, 4 days, 5 days. So she's feeling much better, so that's good. So that's out of the way. And that's it for COVID. Hey, I got my hearing aids. Yeah, I got them a couple days after my last video report. They're tucked behind my ear near the top, and each one is no wider than a pencil and maybe 1.5 inches, 2 inches maximum long. And from the back, it almost looks like the ends of my eyeglasses. They're digital. The audiologist programmed them, and I've been in for one follow-up visit. I have another one this Friday, in which I let her know which sounds are unpleasant or whatever. Now, so she can tune it, for instance, so that it may increase the volume in the car, but it doesn't increase the road noise. It's that much fine tuning, so that's pretty cool. And they're Bluetooth, so linked to my phone, I can hear my phone over them. So I can hear Spotify or even phone calls. And there's a microphone that I have that's maybe 1 inch by 2 inches, and it's got a clip, and that's Bluetooth to the hearing aids. Because I found actually when I was talking to someone that if I had it arm's length on the chair armrest, that it got a little warbly, my phone did. But if I brought it up close, it was fine. So I mentioned this to her, and I got this microphone, and it's Bluetooth to both the phone and the hearing aid, so it can be up to 6 feet from the phone and still be really, fine. It can be 65 feet away and used as a microphone. So say Bonnie and I were at a festival or something, I could give it to her, and that way if we got separated, I would, maybe if she said something, I would hear what she was saying, or could tell where she was. Obviously, she wouldn't hear me if I had of course I could yell 65 feet. I could do that. Can you do that? Hey! Yes. So, yeah, the hearing aids are working really fine, and I've gotten used to them. I've gotten so used to them that one time I got into the shower and I wasn't washing my hair, and no sooner the water hit my chest and I realized I had them on, so I got out and took them off. Other time, I started wetting my hair, but I did not get them wet. So obviously I'm used to them, and I need to stay on top of that. Yes. They're okay in rain. They're not waterproof. I couldn't fall in here. In fact, I'm wearing them now, but this was a trial run. I think for the most part, when I go kayaking, I won't wear them. I just don't want to take the chance. It's too expensive. Yeah. So that's it in a nutshell. Well, that was a big fat nutshell, wasn't it? Yeah. Oh, poetry. Poetry. I had a poem published today online by Silver Birch Press. And if you go to silverbirchpress.com, I think it might be. It's a how-to series, and I wrote a poem, How to Paddle Upstream, and that was published today. And I have 3 books, there are 3 books coming out that are collections that will have some of my poetry in them. One is a collection of short verse, and I have 4 haiku in that book. There's another one that's an anthology with poems about time, and I have a poem in that. That'll be coming out in a couple of months. And someone that I follow online, Colleen Chesbrough, she has published books in the past, and she's publishing one about syllabic poetry, a guide to syllabic poetry. So like tanka, haiku, where you have to count the syllables, you have to have a certain kind of count, go-gyoka, that sort of thing. And renga. Now, renga is when one poet gives another poet 3 lines, that poet comes back with 2 lines. So like a haiku followed by 2 lines. So it's like a tanka, except it just keeps going in steps. Then 3 lines. It can go amongst various poets, or it can go between 2 poets. So 3-2, 3-2, 3-2. You know, but it's not tanka. A solo renga is when one person does the 3 and the 2 and the 3 and the 2. And Colleen has used one of my series of renga as an example in her book, and that's coming out in a couple of months too. Yeah. Now this is a big fat nutshell. This has been your Mid-Missouri kayak, weather, COVID-19, poetry, hey, did you hear that? Report for April 2021. Ciao folks, and vlog on.